Well, hello, thank you for joining me today. We're going to look at similar triangles today, but specifically two different types of triangles, ones that have overlapping parts or that they're twisted a little bit. And we're going to check and see what that means in just a minute. So first, let's look at example 1 here. I do have two triangles, and I do know that they are similar. I do recognize that triangle YAB is similar to YHV. Now, how do I know they're similar? I do have two angles here, YAB and angle H are congruent, and YBA and angle V are marked as congruent. Of course, two angles is enough to give me similarity. So what I'm probably going to do here is I want to redraw my triangles. They are overlapping right now, but it's always easier to visualize them if I draw them separately. So I'm going to draw them separately and label them appropriately. Notice the Y corresponds to the Y, the A corresponds to the H, and the B corresponds to the V, and I tried to color coordinate that for you up here. With that being said, I'll label my triangles, the 17 for the AY and the X for the HY, and of course 16 for YB, and notice down here on YV, it's actually 16 plus 22, which of course we recognize 16 plus 22 is 38. That's important to recognize though. Sometimes that's an X, sometimes it's a variable. You want to be careful there. Knowing this now, I can match up my corresponding parts. I know that 17 corresponds to X, so 17 over X has to be proportional to 16 over 16 plus 22. Alright, so I set up my proportion here, and of course now I can just simplify. Of course I do recognize again 16 plus 22 is 38. I'll cross multiply. Get 16x is 646, and solving I end up getting that x is 40.375. Example 2 here, this time the triangles are not overlapping, but what ends up happening is they end up being a little bit twisted. I recognize that I have parallel lines on top, HK and DE are parallel, which gives me alternate interior angles. DK here represents a transversal, so therefore I know D and K are congruent. Similarly, H and E are congruent, and of course it's pretty obvious these are vertical, these are congruent, so I definitely have similar triangles. So I recognize that HKG is going to be similar to EDG. Now, I like to redraw my triangles, and I'm going to recognize that this top one is twisted, so I'm going to spin it back around so it looks the same as the other triangle, and then I'll start labeling my parts. Of course, H is now going to match the E. My K and my D match. Remember, I had to flip the triangle. And my G matches my G. So color coordinating up here, I recognize that HKG is similar to EDG. If I label all the parts of my triangle, I recognize that I actually have some extra information. I have 3 different pieces of information in the smaller triangle and only 2 pieces in the larger triangle. Oftentimes people get confused when you have that extra information, but with me drawing these in the same orientation, it's pretty clear to see that the 2 matches the 9 and that the A matches the 7.5. Cross multiply and solve, and I find out that my A is 5/3. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.